Welcome back for another trade deadline frenzy episode from DNVR Avalanche. Another defenseman today talking about Luke Schenn. Look, the reality of these defensemen, again, very similar to Jack Johnson, and you're talking about probably a number 7 guy for you who's there to fill in for injury or other situational stuff. The thing is, when you look at Luke Schenn's numbers from this year, they're better than Jack Johnson's offensively, and he's cheaper than Jack Johnson.
He's also right-handed, so he gives you that extra whatever you consider that. Yeah.
Not that you can't just play some of these guys on their offside.
I don't think that's fully insignificant because Jared Bednar actually talked about that a week or two ago about how he's like, with injuries, not only are we thinner, but like, we don't have a ton of right-hand shots to begin with on the back end.
And he is a coach that has always really liked to balance left, right.
And lefts, yeah.
And I say that, and Josh Manson will get healthy, and he will immediately go on a pairing with Erik Johnson, and it will drive me crazy.
But yeah, so, I don't know. This is one really, we were just making the joke, like, it's a lot of the same Jack Johnson conversation, just instead of the familiarity, you substitute that for slightly
better underlying,
right, in terms of production and just in general. So
I think the thing that is the easy sell here, and is the same as Jack Johnson, is that he has played a 7th D role on a Stanley Cup champion, because that's what he did in Tampa Bay. It's why Tampa Bay has talked about being interested in reacquiring him, because that's just the appeal there is, that in Vancouver he's kind of just wasted. Right. What do they care about keeping him? He's a great guy and he likes the city and whatever, and they're happy with the relationship and he's been fine for them. But what is he doing to move that needle forward?
That's 30 games ago. We're probably not talking about this, but Vancouver has played themselves into a situation where you're selling guys like this. So,
well, they should be selling a lot more than guys like this.
You're not wrong on that.
This is where depth defensemen are like the most predictable commodity come every single trade deadline.
Yep.
Teams are like, yeah, we will give you an asset for a guy that we hope doesn't play.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the thing with Luke Schenn here is that, with Jack Johnson, whatever, it would be, we don't.
I mean, just look at the player card.
We aren't looking to put this guy into our lineup, but if we do,
he'll be serviceable.
Because again, you look at this year and you look at the quality of competition that he's faced. Yep. Once again, you're talking about a depth guy playing up in a job because the team is asking too much of him.
Even strength defense, 49%. He's giving you dead league average defensively.
Yep. Against competition that he won't be playing against.
Right.
Yep.
You can assume that if that competition number goes down, that defense number will go up. If he just keeps playing the same caliber of play, that's how that will work. So the appeal is obvious here. He's right-handed. He's big. He's tough. He's rugged. He gives you all the intangibles. He's done it before. He's cheap. The appeal is easy here.
Yeah.
He's a limited player, but it's a limited role that you're bringing him in for. You're not bringing him in to be a top 4. If he ends up in your top 4, you probably aren't going to have a very long run.
Things have gone not great.
Yeah. And bringing him back, who cares? I'll leave that conversation for the summer, whatever. For Schenn, though, it's, and I had this idea last year in which the second year of the contract I know was problematic for the Avs. They didn't love that, which I thought was weird, but because why wouldn't you love $850K that you can just have?
Forget, yeah.
Sure would have been useful so far this year had the Avs had that line around.
Yeah.
But when you bring up his career statistics here,
it's kind of all over the place.
It is a little bit crazy.
This was a top 10 pick, that started out great early on in Toronto, and they thought he was going to be. They thought he was going to really be a
staple defenseman,
a top tier guy, and it's he
didn't work out that way.
He's turned out to. I mean, look at how many years are on that thing. He's been just fine. He's done fine for himself.
You kind of mentioned it with his time in Tampa. This is another guy who's been through it all, right?
Yeah.
He's a dude that you can drop into your lineup. He knows what's coming. He knows what to expect.
Moment's not going to scare him.
Yeah. I've never been a big proportion of getting guys that have been there and done it before, but it's not nothing.
I was going to say it's not insignificant. I think, and I know we talked about this. I can't remember if it was last year at the deadline or over the summer, but like, I think that's a good thing to have in a player that you're already interested in. It's when the teams go out and do it as like, well, we got him because he's been there. It's like you're getting guys for the wrong reasons. That should be something that it's like, it's really nice. We talked about that with Jonathan Taves. You like a lot of things about bringing Jonathan Taves. And oh, by the way, you also have all of this stuff that just makes you feel more comfortable. That should never be the primary reason you're acquiring a guy. And I feel like that's where you see teams make that mistake. Right. It helps.
If you are deciding between, hey, do we want to try and roll the dice with an Andreas Englund, or do we want to go and get a Luke Schenn or a Jack Johnson type to help that? I think it does help where you're like, look, when it comes to Andreas Englund, we have no idea what he's going to do in the postseason.
Right.
This is a guy that in a regular season game in November ran over his own goaltender in the final minutes of a third period game and might have cost them a regulation win. Like, you have no idea, right? Like, you have no idea when that guy's going to have that oh my God moment. We saw it with Patrick Nemeth. Patrick Nemeth was a guy, it was a veteran guy that they had seen in the postseason.
Sank like
and
a rock
they got
in the
him.
playoffs,
And that series, he has never recovered from.
And you could even make the argument, and I don't want to oversell this, but the Ryan Graves overtime moment where it's just like, that was a situation where it was like, a smarter player wouldn't have taken, or a more experienced player who's been in that situation
would have lived to fight another day.
Understands a moment where it's like, all right, I got away with that one. I'm not going to let this guy eat another puck. I'm putting this deep into the corner, high, hard, whatever.
2 feet wide, hoping for a tip. Like, I'm not doing the
anything
exact
but hitting that
and
guy.
again, like, I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to, like, harp on that Ryan Graves, but this is kind of the stuff we're talking about where it's like, you feel a little more comfortable saying, despite Luke Schenn's limitations, we feel like he's not going to kill us in that moment.
He won't cost us a game. He'll make the safe decision that we can live to fight another day with.
Right.
And let our big guys go and either win or lose us games.
Right.
And we can
Great
bring
way
up
of putting it.
we can bring up his career arc here.
It's all over the place.
It's a little up and down, but
the defense has been good in the last few years. It's where he's
steadied out, brought that to a
and
certain level.
you see where the defense is, and you see where his time on ice is, and you see that he found a groove as the third pairing defender.
Yep. Look,
it's kind of a weird career arc because for such a long time it was like, what do you do with him?
the reality, I think, of Luke Schenn and Jack Johnson is it's a similar conversation. Is the Avs went out and did something on offense, and then they had $1 million lying around left.
Yeah.
Let's go get
a fifth round pick or something.
Right.
Schenn, I think, would cost a little bit more, and I think that's how much more is Luke Schenn going to cost than Jack Johnson, and is it worth giving up a third or a fifth?
Sure.
Right.
Well, again, part of that
will care about
conversation
that.
is what does the Avs D look like on March 3rd, right?
Yeah.
If they're fully healthy, maybe you're more comfortable with Jack Johnson. If they're a little banged up, maybe you look at Luke Schenn.
Well, and that's where the Kulikov conversation starts, where you're like, how banged up are you?
Is someone actually going to miss significant time?
If I'm giving up a third round pick anyway, maybe I just go the extra mile. Luke Schenn is kind of that half measure in between Kulikov and Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
All right. Does
maybe like a quarter
does
measure.
AJ say measure weird?
I was going to say,
Put it
there
down
it
in
was.
the
We
comments.
just talked about this yesterday, and there it was, or 2 days ago.
No. Does Luke Schenn make the most sense, or is it Jack Johnson or Kulikov? Or we'll talk about John Klingberg in a future video. You guys tell us down in the comments. We got more videos coming your way in the coming days. Be sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube, and we'll talk to you in the next one.